Rumsey, and welcome to another season 3 episode of the
Rockin House.
Today we have special guests and good friends of ours in the music community. We have Alan Agunis coming live today with Blair Rumsey of the band Hit the Ground Runnin. This is a band that started back early in late 80s and the 90s, and now they're here 30 years later with some new material, and they're running strong. Rock dude.
Yeah, they've always had success overseas in Europe, and even if you didn't hear about them here, same thing when the Hooters were the Hooters from Philadelphia, but they had a lot of success in Europe also. So they remastered their first CD, which is Sudden Impact.
Sudden Impact.
Which is right here.
Yep, you have the vinyl, and I've got the cassette. Looks like the actual CD.
So for everybody, they had this remastered, so it's a crispy 2022 sounding version of it. So that's available for sale too. You can pick up the brand. They were just released, mastered over in Germany.
Yep.
So yeah, they were a band from the late 80s who had some popularity on TV, such shows as Dancing on Air and Dance Party USA.
Yep.
They're primarily from a county called Delco, which is outside the city of Philadelphia.
Yep.
And a pop rock band and a band a memorable band, and they're back and they're better than ever, Mark.
Absolutely. Why don't we bring them on, since they're here live today, to tell us all about what's going on in the future with this band 30 years later. Let's bring on Blair Rumsey and Alan Agunis. Hit the Rockin House. To the Rockin House. Welcome, buddy, to the Rockin House. Welcome, man. Glad to have you guys. Just sit down there, relax, man.
Squeeze in here.
Glad to have you guys to the
show.
Good afternoon,
everybody. Good afternoon,
so
What's happening, man? Good to see you guys.
I'm glad you guys could squeeze in there, and we got Blair, who's our singer. And,
we lost a little weight, so we're working out, so we're trying to stay
lost
thin.
weight. Usually after all them your heyday, it's usually the opposite. Okay, you look
Usually.
Poverty's good for my waistline, like I always say.
You got Blair as the lead vocalist for the band, and you got Alan Agunis, who's their Axeman, supreme guitarist extraordinaire. So,
absolutely.
I'd like to give a special shout out to their bass player, who's in the area also, which is Paul Piccari, and he's in the middle of doing some mastering for the band.
That's one of his album down right
not
now.
only is Paul Piccari a bassist, but he's a jack of all trades, and he's in the studio now helping further their album. So,
and also, we're going to have later on in the show, coming on, is going to be Jimmy Catone, the original drummer of this band, Hit the Ground Running.
Live from Michigan.
That will be here live from Michigan. We will
right.
have that on the show as well coming up later. But let's talk about this, guys. Hit the Ground Running 30 years later. Did you guys ever think this would ever happen?
Not in a heartbeat.
Hell no.
Well, let's talk about this. This is exciting.
I mean, you guys started at Cardinal O'Hara High School. That's where you and
where I
Paul
met-
first
that's where I
met
met
each other
Paul,
in high
yep.
school.
Paul
And my
was
my understanding was Paul was already pretty savvy musician, and he had some equipment and stuff and that kind of thing in his own studio. You told me, Alan. So it was always good to find somebody of that caliber that early on.
Yeah, that's a good start. Good starting point.
Very cool.
I know Alan from a friend of mine. I lived in a neighborhood, and I met a man named Mike Rogers, who was good friends with you, went to school together.
Nice.
And
Introduced
I
the two of us.
I lived at my sister's house, and I met Mike Rogers on the other block, and we realized that we loved to throw frisbee. So I would throw a frisbee through the intersection, over the cars, and Mike Rogers would catch it, and we'd throw it back, and we started talking while we're throwing this frisbee.
Before Facebook, right?
And I told him that I
mid-80s.
was doing singing telegrams, and I wanted to be a singer again, and I'm into music. And he introduced me to Alan, who introduced me to Paul, and I brought in my friend Rob. We were doing some stuff together without even knowing what we were doing. We just wanted to be friends and get together and test the waters of music.
And here we are over 30 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Basically,
Well over 30 years.
this
Amazing.
is all
Still
during
here.
the high school days is when this all occurred.
My days were not high school. Mine were after
No,
college.
Paul and I were in high school. We went to Cardinal O'Hara. He was a senior. I was a junior. He was the local go-ahead guy with the music. He was the big music man.
His
He
dad
was in all the local bands, and everybody went to him. And I saw him playing in a couple bands. I was like, I like this guy. He's pretty cool. And I wasn't half as good as he was, but a couple years later, I kept pursuing him and asking him to play with him and jam with him and do this and do that, and eventually he let me into his circle, and the rest is history.
Well, Blair, without giving away your age, how old were you when you came into became a member of the band?
Probably 23.
Okay.
I was in my 20s or late teens.
I guess.
Yeah, you just left high school when I met you.
And I would assume, you're kind of wet behind the ears, getting it all together. Young musicians on their way to thinking you guys are going to be major rock stars someday. That's way it goes.
It's always the dream,
you
right?
You start low and you think, where are we going to go here?
First of all, you have to like each other. You have to become friends.
Yep.
And I didn't really reach out to many people, so music was a great connection with us, and we started to enjoy what each other was doing with the instruments we had.
So this was the start of Hit the Ground Running.
Well, remember, we started as Free Delivery. You got to remember that.
Okay, I heard the name.
We got together. We Hit the Ground Running wasn't until years later after we got together with Rob and Blair.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time.
Jimmy was in another band with Paul. It was everybody was connected.
The beginning stages.
Yeah, everybody was connected in some other bands, and then eventually we all fell into Free Delivery.
Right.
And
it just felt right.
We had another drummer first, Bert Marks, and we had another keyboard player, Steve Koke, from a lot of different bands, and all great musicians. And we became Free Delivery, and we all gelled. We all got along. We all had great musical ideas.
Nice.
Yeah, the foundation was set. Little did we know how much the foundation was set.
Yeah, it really was.
And then we had a couple changes with a couple people after Free Delivery. We did a couple gigs down the shore. Yep. We did the Wham Bam Body Slam and Wrestling Connection CDs.
I'll tell you my favorite story.
Wow, come on.
We were at the Kenwood Tavern.
Yeah.
And the roadie, Greg, or I forget their names. At the end of this one night, we decided to steal some chairs from the bar area because we lost. So we got everything. We got everything in the truck, and the bouncer came out and says, "Wait, lift that blanket up," and they took their chairs back.
Why the fuck did we take their chairs?
But I just remember watching them take the chairs out of the truck, and I'm like, wait a minute. Well, everybody has memories. Everybody has a memory of what happened when.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys, I want to say something. We're going to come back in just a minute. Back again with Hit the Ground Running members, Blair Rumsey, vocals, lead guitar player extraordinaire, Alan Agunis.
What's up, guys?
Yeah. Let's talk about how this band became the success.
Well,
became
you
Hit the
mentioned
Ground Running
Free
from
Delivery.
Free Delivery.
Is the roots of what went on.
Yes,
the first recording we had was for a rock and roll show, Rock and Roll Wrestling, where Lou Albano and what's her name?
Cyndi Lauper, maybe?
Cyndi Lauper. Yeah. They were together.
Okay.
And we had an offer to sing these songs, Wham Bam Body Slam and Rock and Roll Wrestling Connection.
That we wrote.
Nice.
We wrote, well, I don't know who wrote them, but we recorded them. I did the vocals with Paul, and The other song was done by somebody else, but we recorded 2 songs. So Wham Bam Body Slam was the more of the hip hop song.
Right.
And that was actually put on by what was the manager?
Vincent Vito?
No, the
John
the host of the wrestling. What was his name? An older guy. So it was a video with our voices, our songs on that, and that was in 1985. My life was falling apart, but all of a sudden these things were happening. So it's like half falling apart, half rising up. So we did that, and that made a big splash. And then after that, we just started wanting to record our own stuff and writing our own music.
So now that sounds to me like that was your first taste of success, or something that
Yes.
got your hands
Well,
wet.
yeah.
it was a little bit of success. It wasn't,
Getting your foot wet.
it got our feet wet,
Yeah.
and we met some good people doing that. That's how eventually we got led into meeting Danny McEwen and Michael Nice from Dance Party USA.
Yep.
Early stages of how you connect the dots.
Yeah,
Right.
it morphed into, and Paul knew people. Paul's connections were very important because they everything intersected. Everything was. He knew this person, and they knew him, and all of a sudden we had this group of people who liked what we were doing.
Right.
And we followed their instructions, and we went out and played. Joe Rizzo, I forget the names of everybody.
I remember
Bobby
Gorman.
Bobby Gorman.
Yeah, from Caruso Music in Brookhaven had a lot to do
So
with it,
people
too.
that sold music, people had stores. All of a sudden, all these people were very interested in what we were doing.
So the puzzle pieces were now starting to get put together
Yes.
to form this band.
We don't know how they were put together, but they got put
Hit the
together
ground
somehow.
And then I understand Dan McEwen was a big stepping stone to getting on TV.
Yeah.
He was our go-to for dancing on air, Dance Party USA.
They were out of Camden, I believe the studio was.
Yeah, Nice Productions.
So
And that's where we recorded Sudden Impact.
okay.
It
Most
made
of
it
that
so
album.
special that we all just agreed and enjoyed the whole thing. It was just,
Okay.
yeah, it was very cool.
Let me ask you guys, who came up with the name Hit the Ground Running?
I think Hillary thought of that name.
Really?
We were free delivery, and we didn't really care what the name of us was, but it seemed to be something important.
I don't really remember, but I think it was Hillary came up. Well, we threw a couple names out there.
Okay. That stuck.
I don't know. Yeah, that one stuck.
It's like it's you already.
Everybody thinks we got that from the Van Halen song Unchained, but we did not.
No.
It was way before that.
Everything we did was totally original.
Yeah,
had no
but it just kind of
connections.
stuck, and I guess I have to give that to Hillary if that's.
So I guess the definition of that for us is we were writing really good songs and we enjoyed it.
Right.
And everything we did was turning out pretty good,
so we were all-
fabulous.
yeah.
So we enjoyed
And we were always we felt like we were hitting the ground
somebody
running
with a
every
parachute
song.
has to come down and hit the ground running.
Okay, so that's how it happened.
Yeah,
Which you
that's-
hear that expression a lot in the business.
Yes,
You
you
know,
hear
yo,
it-
we're going to hit the ground running on this tour.
Yeah.
That's what we. That's
Yes.
Okay.
and that's why we kept the name.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it's a very impactful name,
Yeah.
which
Statement.
hence
Yeah.
It fit
the
us.
album.
It fit us. It fit our musical
it fit.
writing. It fit
Yes,
our.
yes.
Because we had so much material. We just had so much music. We wrote constantly. We were in the studio. I mean, we actually grew up in the studio, so that's what really
as
made us who.
musicians.
Yeah, Paul had
Yeah.
a studio early in Broomall.
Now, who were the primary writers? Did you all have hand in it, or does I know Blair was the primary
Everybody
singer-songwriter?
wrote. Everybody had their hand in it. Paul was a big factor.
The music was all of us, and here my take of
Collectively.
it. Collectively, the music was.
Got it.
We all agreed on the music,
Right.
And we would all throw some words out,
Gotcha.
some rhymes, like it's poetry, but it's music. So we'd all, and then I would just go back, and once it's in your head, you know this.
Yes.
Once it's in your head, it stays in your head,
Yep.
and as you go through your day, you'll start saying words, saying a theme, saying something that is now aligning with the music.
So
That's how I create
I would come up
songs.
with a lot of. I mean, I can't write lyrics worth of shit, but guitar riffs, parts. I would write a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And we would. I mean, a lot of stuff. I would write certain riffs, certain rhythms, and Paul would say, "Oh, I like that," and Rob would say,
Yeah.
"Oh, I like that," and
Right.
and we just put
We would
so
just
much
flood-
stuff together.
Yeah,
There was just so
yeah.
many ideas coming from left, right, center.
Yeah.
And Paul was so good at putting them together, and Jimmy
He
was so
would
good at
piece-
putting
yeah.
them together.
God
And-
bless you guys.
And Rob was just an amazing composer on the keyboards, and
Yeah.
it was like the stars all would align, and they aligned
Yeah.
a lot
So-
for a lot of our
Yeah.
music.
So could I say before we go to our next break, it's safe to say that this would be the actual puzzle being put together with the actual members that became Hit the Ground Running as the lineup.
Yeah, the original 5, yes. Jimmy, Paul, Rob, Alan, and Blair.
And we all get together and we're like, wow. Like, we love each other's company, and we're amazed that we're all still here.
It
gives us that energy to keep doing this and redo and just write more music.
But we did hate each other at one time or another, too. But we all came back, hugs and kisses, so it was all good.
The music overruled the emotions.
What most bands need to know or haven't done, the ones that actually crashed, was because you guys came from a situation where you were all collaborating on the same plane as a team.
Yeah.
So that drives the band forward to success, because when you guys, one guy says, I'm here, I'm there, I'm the leader or whatever, that's when things start to fall apart.
We all raise our hands and say, whatever we all want to do together is what's going to happen.
Well,
we never had egos.
Let's leave it at that, Rock, dude, and we'll come back in just a minute and talk about what Hit the Ground Running is doing right now in the future, which is phenomenal 30 years later. We'll be right back.
Everybody, go ahead, Mark.
Absolutely, we're back again with Hit the Ground Running. Alan Agonis and Blair
Rumsey.
Amazing what we talked about so far on the show, and it's really awesome to have you guys on the show. We really appreciate you coming and talking about the story. It's an amazing story. It's like it's the rock star dream story.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, every other musician out there seeing this will be like, man, I almost came to that story. I almost was able to get to that story. But now let's talk about your future. But let's talk about
what I'm thinking happened with you guys is that your hand was basically forced. After being in a semi-retirement stage, people over in Europe are really still digging the material. So
that's
you guys got light bulbs in your head. Why can't we capitalize on this now?
Right.
It's an opportunity that people overseas dig us. So we just got to get the market back here.
Yes.
And then that's what that was. So you were kind of like being forced into it to a degree.
Well, let's talk about this, because they had international credits. They had international stardom, which put them on the charts with this band. They were really loving this to that level. And then we're going to talk about 30 years later, here we are. You guys are back on top. Making a comeback.
Well, that is so true, because there's different markets. Whether it's a foreign market or where you're at, you might have more popularity there than actually at home.
Right.
I never even thought about Europe. I just thought about our little world, our little part of it. And when it stops, I'm nothing. I felt like I wasn't a musician. I was just another guy trying to make a living. Right. And I forgot I ignored the music. We had the album from Canada. We had that. And we had songs that we've written before that that we never finished, that we never mixed up. But we had these songs and lyrics and melodies. And so the first album was already done, and we all were missing it. And then, Marcus came to us not even a year ago in April. And he was an avid old rock collector, and he was in an old music store looking for albums for new things that he never in Canada. Wow! And he discovered our album. He listened to it, and he was blown away. He's a teacher in Canada, and he connected with us and called everybody. And at first, I thought it was just a scam call. Someone was trying to rip me off. He told me who he was, and he had talked to Alan, he had talked to Paul, and he talked to Jimmy, and I was the last one to get. And he wanted to know what we were doing and how amazing our music was. And we had gotten together and recorded a few things, and then we stop. And we get together and we stop. So we have 3 albums together. Every 10 years we put an album together, and then we disappear from each other.
Got it.
Okay,
Well,
so
Alan,
the amazing thing is, you got to remember, there's a guy, Marcus Mason, a guy from Canada we never heard of, never knew, never talked to, out of the blue, found our music in a wherever he found it, a record store or whatever.
records.
Contacted us out of the blue.
Nice.
Out of the blue. So interested and loved our original first album, Sudden Impact, which was Autograph Records from a Canadian label.
Yep.
It was distributed through them. He took a liking to us, and basically, with him, he got us totally back together and back into it. Now, at the same time, you got to remember, our original album, Sudden Impact, always had a certain interest all throughout Europe since day one up till today.
Yep.
I don't know why, but I appreciate people buying it and searching out our original album. Some of our original CDs went for hundreds, if not $1,000
on eBay
or more on eBay.
For so much money.
And it is a good record. It's a late '80s sounding record, but it's still good. The music's there. And this gentleman from Canada sought us out, loved it, and got us to be reborn in this.
Yeah, Rock dude showing
and got the
everybody
interest
vinyl
going
right
up.
He wrote the book.
He wrote a whole book about us called "Hit the Ground Running," a band.
The
greatest rock
and roll band you never heard of.
Actually, is that right?
Actually,
wow.
Yes, it was amazing. So he started the rebirth of this whole band. This total stranger, who's now we owe him everything. And
now I talk to him every day.
Yes, and it's like a rebirth of our original music that we never lost, but the five of us, everybody's got their different lives. Everybody does their different shit.
Yeah.
But we're still here. We're still alive. We're still healthy. We're back together. We're rewriting songs, brand new songs, redoing old songs. Mm-hmm. We just finished our album in Paul's studio in his house in Media. And it's just a blessing.
And we're looking forward to writing.
It's a blessing,
new material.
and we just signed a record deal in Germany.
Awesome.
We just did 1,000 remastered CDs right here. Marky, bring it up. It's a double CD. Turn it around. It's got outtakes and other songs that never made the album. And they're selling like hotcakes in Japan, over in Europe. God,
we're
thank
on the
you.
radio, everywhere on the radio.
So, hey,
awesome.
It's just been a blessing, and here we are. And,
we thank you all.
Well, let me ask you guys this as we close out the show here.
Is the guy who was the writer of the book actually was the springboard to get you thinking.
Yes, he was the springboard.
How can we further this banner? What can we do in 2022? So there's always a spark that catapults you to the future.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how a total stranger brought us back together.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Out of love for our
music.
music.
A manager and our good friend, and he's so focused on us.
Yeah, we owe him a lot. We owe him a lot.
In closing for today, again, thanks for coming to the show. We
Absolutely,
appreciate it, guys.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
You have a new video out.
Yes, simply because.
Okay.
It's
going well.
Yeah,
right?
we released it this past Thanksgiving Eve.
Nice.
Right.
And I think it's got almost
135,000 views.
Maybe even more now.
Beautiful.
5,000 in the first 2 days.
That's
and
a nice
we did it all ourselves. Paul did it. He did all the video, all the recording. We did it at a couple local parks in Delco.
Nice.
An older song that we recorded years ago.
Yep.
Is that also the title of the album?
No, simply because.
What is the album called? So people would
The
know.
one.
Do we even know it?
Is it just?
Yes, I do.
Is it just Hit the Ground Running?
No, I fucking forget. No,
How could you
funny
forget
name.
your ground? Come on.
That's okay.
It's all good.
Grab
man.
my phone.
But here's the thing, guys. I just want to say this. We'll get you all this information as the Rockin' House always brings you the latest, things that have been in the future, things that are back in the day. We always get you the information so you can find out everything you know about Hit the Ground Running.
And as you know from watching our videos, most of everything that needs to be noticed on our credit board at the end of the video.
Yes.
But I wanted to reiterate, this video was done. 2 of you guys did it locally, and 2 of the musicians did it from another state.
Jimmy, our drummer, lives in Michigan.
Nice.
He sent in his video portion from there. Rob, our keyboard player, sent his portion from Norristown, not close from where you live here.
Yeah.
So in the modern age of how videos work in the pandemic and whatever you want to say, you don't have to be in the same room to get something done.
Absolutely.
Everyone's up to speed but me. So
Amazing.
they're doing everything. I go to Paul's and kick my vocals out.
I do the same.
and I just do the same thing I always did. Just put my heart and
Technology's
soul.
insane.
And then
Yeah.
I see Alan went down.
Yeah,
he went down to the
thank
creek
God
to do
for
his
that.
part, right?
Yeah, I fell in the creek.
Fell in the creek. Didn't
That's
even ask me to help you
that's another
save your
fucking
life.
story,
I
but-
could have saved your life.
But yeah, it was.
And of course, back in them days, Alan had a yellow Sabre, which is we all know him for, and
Yes.
he still has that in perfect condition today.
Absolutely.
that guitar's over
And
30-something years old.
You recorded all the albums with that
all my
guitar?
albums and tours
Okay.
on that guitar.
Amazing
Absolutely.
guitar player.
I've been a
you
Sabre
are, sir.
custom.
Amazing.
Yeah. And Alan, let's just ask you about that. He's mentioned about guitars and rock dude as well.
Right.
What are some of your influences on guitar?
Randy Rhoads, Eddie Van Halen, Matthias Jabs.
Nice.
My favorite's Frank Marino.
Nice.
And
Oh, Frank Marino. That's one of the ones people don't talk about.
He's my favorite. He's my favorite of all
Marino.
time,
man. All right.
But yeah, it's all good.
And how
I
about
love
you, Blair?
everybody.
What about your influences on vocal?
I would listen to my first album was Chicago, so it would be Peter Cetera,
Nice.
all the
God,
strong
brilliant.
high vocalists,
Yeah.
Kenny Loggins, Stevie Wonder.
Cimbello.
If I could sing it, I always tested myself with all these higher. You don't know who you are, but you're listening to a song and you sing it, and then maybe I could sing that, and you sing it and you say, "Wow, what else can I sing?
Yeah.
What other notes?" So I always focused on strong high vocals and harmonies.
And may I add to that I said this to you earlier today. We were talking. I think you guys got a real strong influence off of Journey.
Very.
Yeah,
I
with
think
Journey,
Hit the
yes.
Ground Running
Journey, yes.
definitely
Genesis.
has that.
The covers that we sang
Yeah.
emulate out of the music we've written,
Right. That's
pretty
right.
much, if emulate is the proper word.
Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to come right back, and we're going to have Jimmy Catone, the drummer, the original drummer, very shortly to come and talk about his experience being with this band.
Nice.
Hit the ground running. So stay tuned. Don't go nowhere. Marcus here, as I said, we got all the way from Detroit, Michigan area. We got Jimmy Catone, original drummer of Hit the Ground Running with us, as I promised you. Welcome to the show, the Rockin' House. We're glad to have you on the show, along with Blair and Alan that we had earlier. Welcome, brother. Nice to have you.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
All right, let's talk about, your connection with Hit the Ground Running. How you're the original drummer from back in the day. Here we are 30 years later, and it's like the dream is like all over again. How does this feel
Yeah.
for you, brother?
Yeah, it sure is, man. It sure is. We started out a long time ago, 30 plus years ago, in a band called Free Delivery. I'm sure you guys
Absolutely.
know about that.
Yes, we do.
My first experience with Free Delivery, Paul Picari and I had played in a band called Sanctuary, and then later on Escape. We
Nice.
played in that band together for a few years, man. We played pretty steady. And Paul left to form this band, Free Delivery. He wanted to do an original band. I went on. I was still on the road with Escape doing shows.
Nice.
But our band ended shortly thereafter that.
Nice.
And, of course, as soon as I get home from the road, I get a call from Paul.
Nice.
I couldn't still knowing I was out there not working. And so he was like, hey, man, why don't you come out and check out our band? We're playing this club. I forget where it was, somewhere in Northeast Philly. And so I set out to check them out. And, man, I was just blown away. They were phenomenal. They had a really good energy about them. And I was like, wow, really good stuff here. But I'm like, it looks like you guys got a drummer there already. So we were talking back and forth, and I ended up going over there. He gave me a couple songs to learn just to sit in, and we played. It was phenomenal. It was a fit. It was just like perfect. So we went on and just like wrote all these songs, recorded a bunch of songs,
Nice.
re-recorded a bunch of songs. We got along really great. We were together all the time, constantly.
Nice.
And I know that sounds funny, but we really were. We were together a lot. We just did everything together, played out, recorded music, rehearsed. and these songs that we were doing, we really had a really great sound together as well. Everything just blended together so nicely.
Okay.
So we just did that for years and years, and we finally played the Jersey Shore for a summer together. We lived together in the Jersey Shore. Okay. We did everything together. So in comes Nice Productions, Danny McEwen, after some other management choices that we were involved with. Made us an offer to go record some songs together, and we did. We went into Powerhouse Studios in Camden, New Jersey.
Okay.
And started recording there, and we found ourselves knee deep in recording our first album.
Nice.
Sudden Impact.
Okay.
Yeah. So that went really, really well. It took over 2 years to get that album done. In between kind of working the studio schedule and writing the album.
Right. Right.
It took a while to get that together, but we did. We managed to get that album done really well, and we went on to. We got a Canadian record deal out of that, and with Autograph Records, which was really cool.
Right.
Right. So that brings us to certainly not current.
Fast forwarding it. Now, 30 years
now
later, here we are. Now what's going on, Jimmy?
Now it's going on.
It's
okay,
exciting,
so
right? It's exciting.
So I get a call from this gentleman named Marcus Mason. Okay, he wants to tell me that he's writing a book about our band, Hit the Ground Running. I'm like, really, dude? Like, wow, man. That was a long time ago, right? You go, oh, I know everything. He goes, I'm like, okay, wow, that's really interesting. So when someone comes at you, out of the blue like that, and they're like, we're writing a song about you, we're writing a song about your band from 30 years ago, you're just like, okay, dude, really? Like, you don't really believe him, I guess, maybe a little bit. So I'm like, all right, send me something. Let me see what you got, So he sends me what he has so far. And man, I was blown away. It was just so good. I'm like, man, this is so in depth. This guy does really know everything about this band. He knows everything about us,
So he researched you guys, obviously.
Oh,
to be able to put together this autobiography about Hit the Ground Running, am I right?
Right. So we call him Sleuth, man, because he literally does. He knows everything about us. So I was blown away, and I'm like, man, this is really cool. I think that this is on,
Yeah.
So I contacted Paul, and I'm like, so what's the deal, man? Like this guy has something really good here.
When you say Paul, you mean Paul Picari, the bass player.
Paul Picari, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, Paul Picari. Reached out to Paul.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, so what do you want to do, man? Do you want to do something here? Because I think we should. This is a really good time. If we're going to get back together, now's probably a really good time to do it. And so we talked about a lot of things. And we, brainstormed a little bit. And we came up with some stuff. But we thought, my whole idea was, let's just cut a couple tracks, a couple free delivery tracks, and let's do some of this. Let's do like a COVID video, because I'm all the way up here. You guys are down there.
Right.
Let's do like. So we decided we're going to do 3 videos. So we start laying down tracks, and it went really well. But then Marcus is working behind the scenes like this whole time, trying to, actually get us a deal, and so, it became like day and night thing, man. Marcus and I are texting back and forth, like during the day, all hours of the night. It's just, this then becomes next level stuff. And so now we're not just cutting these videos, we're trying to get a record deal here. So we have actual companies reaching out to us to, maybe sign with them,
That's amazing. It must feel exciting to you. At 30 years later, here we are.
Man, really exciting.
You're resurrecting Hit the Ground Running.
Yeah, right. So then I'm starting to address myself as a drummer from Hit the Ground Running again. After off on my own for a really long time doing my own material, all of a sudden now it's time to get in drummer mode again,
Yep.
So, of course, it's not too hard. With these guys, man, I love these guys. It's always been something special with Hit the Ground. For some reason, whenever we get together, there's always something really special. So
Chemistry's
Paul and I,
right, yeah.
so Paul and I were talking a little bit more. So I think we need to bump this up a notch. I think we need to kind of make this an album now.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
that was Paul's idea. Let's just go ahead and do an album. You know, because if we're going to get signed and we're going to go ahead and take this the distance, then we're going to need an album.
Yep.
And so we did. So we're like, okay, so we shifted out of that whole mindset of we're going to do a few videos.
Right.
So we're doing this album, and it's coming out really well. The guys are involved. Everything sounds like really tight.
Nice.
Sounds good. So Paul's got this idea. Why don't we do like a real video now, like for one of these songs?
Right.
Specifically, simply because the song
Right.
that we did, and I'm like, man, that would really make like a spectacular video. Like it's such a visual song anyway. And he's like, I got ideas. So he sends me something that him and Blair did together, a little bit, some video clips. I'm like, man, I think I got a really good idea. So we just started shuffling ideas back and forth.
Right.
And I got my idea for my makeshift drum set in that video. I thought, why not just a pile of crap in the woods, man? You know what I mean? Just a bunch of pipes and gears and anything else that I could think of. Just this pile.
Nice.
So we found a spot to do it in, and it really came out pretty well. It fit. So then Alan goes and does his tracks, in front of that big wall and stuff on the rocks. Just really cool. So it came out really well. So we put it out there, and we're not expecting anything. We're really not, man. We're thinking, some people will we know people are going to dig this, but it's not really a signature song for the band. It's not our old style of doing things.
Right.
It's very artsy, and which I love, by the way. I love that video. I thought, this is a good time to get people's attention. And I don't know if we're necessarily going to get everybody's attention by doing like an 80s version of us. Let's do a real updated version of us.
Right.
So it worked out really well. Paul had just a fantastic idea for the video.
Nice.
So puts it up on YouTube, and all of a sudden, like, hits and views start rolling in like crazy.
Wow.
So Marcus comes to me, he goes, man, I think we got like a hit on our hands, man. I mean, like, look at this. And I never even looked at it. I'm like, wow, all of a sudden, like thousands of views just like thrown up on there. Just fantastic. So here we are today. We signed Marcus to a management deal here. So he is now our manager.
Wow. Nice.
Which he's earned every bit of that, man. The guy just doesn't stop. He's a full-on sleuth. And he's really something else, man. He's really done. He's the heartbeat of this band right now. He's something else, man. He's a perfect fit for us because we kind of needed that kick in the butt that he provides.
So in closing, Jimmy, let me just say this as we close out. And again, thank you for coming to the show and giving your input of your experience being with the band as the original drummer and how things are now opening up for you for the new, here we are in the future and moving forward. What do we see happening as we're closing out today with this band? Do you see a tour maybe developing out of this possible?
Oh, yeah. Well, we wanted to get the album done first, and that is being mastered as we speak right now.
Very awesome.
It sounds really good. We're moving on to live stuff now.
Awesome.
We're talking about going out and doing some shows. We have some things in the works for sure. That's becoming an everyday thing now.
I love
we
it.
have we're talking about doing a live album soon.
Very cool.
A weird thing, you don't hear that too much anymore, right?
No, that's back in the day, yeah.
yeah, but I think that's going to work for us in this instance. So we're talking about that. But yeah, the shows are we're starting to get some offers. We're looking into a lot of things. We're going to do some festivals.
Nice.
So it's going really great, man. It's going really great.
Okay, well, I want to thank you, Jimmy, for coming with my partner, Rock Dude, to the Rockin' House, and coming in to be a guest real quick here to give us some input about what you feel.
My pleasure.
Playing with the band, we appreciate having you here. I'm Marky Z with Rock Dude, and I'm out.
struggle with no reason, no one understands. It's got to be ignored that all that he's done. His past is there to haunt him. You can see it in his son. I wonder how far we have to go. But he's under the fight. But does anyone